Now last class why is craving in any form adharmic? So you answered by saying what is dharma and adharma. The definition of anything that protects from the three disturbances is dharma. But anything that protects from, what is that anything?
Any action, any thought that disturbs you. Any action, any thought that disturbs you. When I say disturbance, means mental agitations. That is adharmic in nature. You do an action, that action necessarily has a consequence, and the consequence can be one of joy or sorrow. All consequences boils down to these two. The variations will be many, but it all boils down to, all consequences of action boils down only to the sukha or dukkha. Dukkha is adharmic by nature, in that sense, relatively speaking. You follow? In the ultimate sense, anything that takes you away from the self is adharmic. Anything that takes you closer to self is dharmic in the ultimate sense. You do an action, if that takes you closer to self, it is dharmic. You do an action, you are moving away from the self, it is adharmic. You follow? Now what is the statement again? Read that question again.
So you defined what is dharma and adharma. You said anything that protects from the three disturbances.
Yes.
The cosmic, external and internal disturbances is dharma. So anything that protects me from anything.
Anything is the thought. Anything means thought and action.
Any thought and action, yes, that protects.
That protects. Anything means thought and action always. Anything means thought and action. Anything doesn't mean the third entity something from outside. There is no third entity that is going to protect anybody. You are saved or you are disturbed by your own thoughts, by your own actions. So anything means all thoughts and all actions that you perform, not the action and thought of others. Not the action and thought of others. If others' action and others' thoughts are disturbing you, you know what are you doing there? Vicariously you have become the doer. You are assuming that you are the doer. That's why somebody does an action, you are getting affected, means mentally what are you doing? Vicariously you have become the doer, as in saying it should be done or it should not be done. That's how you get affected. Otherwise, why will you get affected when somebody does something? You follow? So there is no third entity that is contributing to your protection or destruction. One's own self. That's why he says you make yourself. You mar yourself. You are the architect of your fortune, you are the architect of your misfortune. Alda. What does a human being do? Thought and Action. That's all. I said it any number of times. The human being does 3 equipments: mano, vak, kaya. Action, speech, the word and the thought. In some areas action, in some areas speech, in some areas the thought. So anything means mano, vak, anything that is performed through mano, vak, kaya. It is implied there, it is understood. Whatever you do, whatsoever you do through these 3 through these 3 instruments, mano, vak, kaya, it means that. We have said it. Karma, manasam karma. Said it any number of times. Manasam karma, vachikam karma, kayakam karma. It is done through the body, done through the speech, done through the thought. Irrespective of anything, there is a consequence. So the protection or destruction is determined by the consequence. If it produces sukha, we say you are protected. If the consequences results in agitations, it means you have done. It means you are disturbed, not protected. Okay. So anything means anything done through these 3: the thought, the word, and the what in English they say, the thought, the word, and the deed. Mano, vak, kaya. Is it okay?
Suppose for doing a job, somebody is asking for some lanjam kekkrannu vechunga. So I feel that why should I give it? I am right. So that feeling why he is asking like this, it agitates me.
Yes.
In no way I am responsible for that. And many people for that matter, they end up giving the kickback and then they keep feeling bad, talking bad about it. So I am right, but whereas the other person is wrong, which affects me.
Correct.
So how do I take it and tell my mind,
Calm down.
because this other, I'm not able to put it in a
Yes, I understand. Yes. How not to be affected by another. That's what he is saying. Whatever the other does, how not to be affected by the another. Now, the other, you are giving the example of a so-called negative act, as in bribery.
Correct.
How not to be affected by that. First thing, the whole complication in human action, go from the basics. The complication in human action arose at what point?
Expectation.
This bribe, this, all that arose, at what point it came in? When actions are sold for a price. Salary. The moment you bring something as a price for the action, inevitably these things are bound to happen. So it is a natural, one of the byproducts of this way of functioning, which cannot be avoided. 1. 2. I may choose not to bribe. I may choose not to give bribe, or I may choose not to take bribe. It is my choice, and the other is not bound by my choice. The second point. the third point is there is no common dharma like that, where we can say bribe is right or bribe is wrong. For anything to be determined as right or wrong, is the formula. For anything to be determined as right or wrong, it has to be, it is always decided by the time, the place, the situation and the person. Minus taking away these four, you can never have any set of rules and you can never have any set of rules and regulations. You follow? Now, where human beings has a problem is, independent of all this, we believe in there is a set of rules and regulations, and everybody has to follow. Everybody has to follow that. It is like these rules came for social purposes. There is no dharma or adharma in it. There is no right or wrong in it. Everybody, okay. Take a simple example. Which side of the road we drive here? Right or left? Left. We drive on the left. The other part of the world drives on the right. So I drive right, I drive left there, I will be fined. Or the other way here. Now these rules are kept more for a social purpose, where things can move in
orderly fashion. Ordered means
some order. Some order. Not, you cannot give it
an absolute.
You cannot give it you can never bring in a moral angle to it. Everybody drives on the left is the rule here. Now there is no moral angle to it. Why there is no moral angle to it? Because tomorrow they can decide. Tomorrow that fellow can decide you can drive on the Calcutta. There is one road. Only in that place I have seen that road. காலையில் மத்தியானம் 1 மணி வரைக்கும் one way traffic this side. From 1-5 one way traffic on the other side. Supposing if you are caught in between, it's a park street. It's a very long. It's a very long street. It is not it's not a small road. It's a huge road. So what they do? They stop here at 12:45. They stop there at that, and then now these are all rules that is brought in for some order in the society. Similarly, this we give there is no, you can never bring in a moral angle to bribe or no bribe. Vedanta is not saying pay bribe, nor it's saying don't pay bribe. It depends on the time, the place, the situation and the person. In an institution like ours, where we really don't have targets to achieve anything, we can work without any problems, because there is no time frame there. To get an electricity connection, 2.5 years, because we said we will not bribe, but we can wait for 2.5 years. Supposing you have committed a project, 1,000 houses, X amount of money is involved in business, X amount of people are waiting to move in. If electricity connection itself takes 2.5 years, when will the project get completed and when will you move in? So it depends on, if I am willing to pay that price, I need not pay. I need not wait. And this is the same. This is the same everywhere in the world. Throughout the world, it is the same. Oh, only ingadam bribe alla. There are countries where there is no. Wherever there is a human being,
there will be bribe.
Why? Bribe as in direct or indirect? Bribe as in direct or indirect? Why? Because selfishness exists. As long as selfishness exists, these things are bound to happen. Now, how does one protect oneself? You need to understand this and work within this understanding. Then you are protected from agitation. Illana, you will be completely agitated, because it happens everywhere. Any part of the world you go, it's the same thing. You know a person, you bypass the queue and go. What is it called? There are 50 patients waiting. I know the doctor. I bypass all the 50 and I go in straight. What is it called? Abuse. Correct? This is how life is. One fellow lost his passport because somebody is known in the High Commission. Second day he got a new passport. Third day he flew out of the country. What do you call this? Dharmic act? A person who doesn't know anybody in that commission, what happens to him? He's stuck. By the time he can go to the police and take an FIR and prove, this is how it will take you minimum 45 days to get a new passport abroad. I am talking about abroad. You follow? 45 days, if the fellow has to live there for 45 days, okay. If there is a family there and all, it's okay. Supposing he's on a business trip and he's lost, who's going to pay for it? From where is he going to get all that? So that's why I said the misuse of law always happens either direct or indirect. Some do it directly as in the bribe. Some do it indirectly. I am asking you, what would you call that person who, because he knew the High Commissioner, went in and the High Commissioner said, okay, come tomorrow. From the Indian government gave him 10 passports for emergency purposes. From that 10 passport he gave one and said, leave. What do you call that? He didn't take any bribe. What would you call that act? Life-saving act. If you are choosing in life-saving, then it is not. Supposing I lost and you lost. You know the High Commissioner, you got. I lost and I am still stuck there. What does it mean? You follow? So, this act of we have a law and we violating the law is so common, which all human beings are somehow guilty of. Either directly or indirectly. Idilla, why have a big talk? Why talk about that fellow who's taking? Why talk about that fellow who's taking 1,000 rupees or 2,000 rupees? Oh, my High Commissioner happens to be my brother-in-law. My brother-in-law is not a High Commissioner. My High Commissioner happened to be my brother-in-law. He gave the passport. Now, what do you call that? You can't call that as it is an abuse of. For rule means everybody has to follow the rule. I have to go and meet a doctor for my friend. I know the doctor so well, and I've been seeing him for the last 12 years. Ask Ranjini, she was there also. I said, we will register the name and we will just sit outside till he calls inside. Obviously, he is seeing us through the camera. For there is a camera. Obviously, he is seeing us. Don't go on. 1.5 hours, more than 2 hours we have to wait.
Close to 3 hours.
Close to 3 hours. I was sitting outside. My friend told me, "Nada, therinja doctor na ukandirukkrome velila. Therinja doctor na ivula per irukkrangalla, 40 per queue la irukkrangalla. Let them go. Why are we in a without an appointment? Nammala paakuradhe avarku." He seeing us itself is a favor that he is doing. You follow? If you have the time and the patience to wait, dharma is different. If you don't have the time and patience, dharma becomes different. Dharma becomes different. And nobody has the time and the patience. Therefore, what they try to
make other master.
You follow? It's very. So, to get agitated because somebody is doing a wrong action is completely wrong. Because somewhere down the line, I am also guilty of something else in the same way. I was really appreciating that man. You know, the one man Ranganathan who comes for the class. We were all going to the academy about 10 years back. Tickets wasn't confirmed. Two fellows, RAC உட்கார்ந்திருக்கிறாங்க. The TT came and said, நமக்கு வந்தாரே TT. அவர் மாதிரிதான். He came and said, I can give you the berth. Ranganathan said, okay. But அதுக்கு 200 rupees ஆகும். He said, no, நான் உட்கார்ந்தே வரேன், it's okay. He left. He also sat and came happily. I was watching it from I didn't say anything. I didn't say pay and take the berth. I didn't say don't pay. But that man had that. That man had that. You follow? Now, I am not saying who's right and who is wrong. It depends on the time, the place, the situation and the person. You follow? Minus these four, you can never have a rule which everybody has to follow. We have rules like that. Like the traffic rule. We all have to pay income tax before so and so date. Now, these are all rules that is kept for some direction, some discipline. When we bring in a morality to all this, we get into trouble. We get disturbed. Lastly, this is the philosophical thing. a person who has evolved, when he sees somebody, he only sympathizes with them. He doesn't get agitated. He doesn't get disturbed. He sympathizes. That's all. He will not do it. He will not do it. But when he sees somebody doing it, he will not be agitated by it. He will not be disturbed by it. You follow? Why? Because that is the growth itself makes a person. The growth itself makes him compassionate. Is it okay, Raj?
Yeah.
சரியா?
So, நீங்க அப்படி சொல்லிட்டு வரும்போது நீங்க என்ன சொன்னீங்க? Then you told two ways of dealing with disturbances. So one is a simple reconciliation and second is I can do something about it. So என்னோட confusion என்னன்னா, where to reconcile and where to do something about what in this two handling of two disturbances.
See, I said whenever you go through a disturbance, there are only two fundamental ways of dealing with it. One is I can't do. One is you reconcile and you say I can't do anything about it. Another attitude is no, I can do something to change. What determines under what conditions? The question that she is asking is, under what conditions one can say I reconcile? Under what conditions one can say I want to bring in a change? Correct? Huh? For all practical purposes, you do the second first, and when the second has failed, you take the first. For all practical purposes, you have to assume that you can do something. And when all your efforts have failed, you say now nothing can be done. You follow? Why we say take the second one? Because number one, the ego of the human being always believes that it is under control and it should have done something and feels guilty. To avoid that, you need to go through all this. Again I repeat, the human ego, the human arrogance believes that it is always under control of it can control, not it is always under control. Sorry, I made a wrong statement. The human ego always believes that it can change, it can modify, it can control. When it has not done any of these, it feels very guilty. I should have done it. I don't know why I didn't do it. Now what is the prayaschitta for that? It goes into all weird angles. So in order to protect yourself, first is what? Exhaust the ego. Let the ego get exhausted. Only at that point where the ego is exhausted, you can truly become egoless and say nothing can be done, and you reconcile. Reconciliation is a very high state of living. I would say the noblest way of living is, the best way of living is that where you just Reconcile. You follow? But today, it is not understood rightly. It is not seen as an egoless state, it is seen as a lazy state.
Defeatist.
As a lazy, inactive fatalist. You follow? Reconciliation is seen as a fatalist. Fatalist means இதெல்லாம் என்னோட விதி ஒன்றும் செய்ய முடியாது. A fatalist. Or inactive or lazy. Too much of effort to, it requires too much of effort to make a change and all that. So I am so lazy to put in that effort, I quickly reconcile. Now, in these conditions, reconciliation is a very, very tamasic way of living. It's not the right way at all. That is why, even though this is a wonderful way of living, it's not recommended at all. Why it is not recommended? Either the person will turn into a fatalist or lazy, inactive. You follow? That is why the life of reconciliation is never preached. The life of reconciliation was never told to practice. Even though we say because it will be wrongly understood. Sevanenu irukanumna enna artham? Avladhaan. You follow?
Reconciliation is summaru artham.
Yes, you can't do anything about it now. What can you do? What does reconciliation means? What does reconciliation means? You cannot understand. When I say you cannot understand that, you can never understand that the child is sick and I cannot do anything about it and sit with folded hands unaffected. You cannot live that life. Impossible. The ego will not allow you to live life like that. Therefore, what is the other option that you have? You have no choice but to act. Try. A time comes where all efforts are exhausted. You follow? Take the simple example of a sickness. At the very first stage when sickness comes, the attitude is what? To run from pillar to post. What all they do? From this doctor to that doctor, from that doctor to another doctor, and then from allopathy to homeopathy to naturopathy, Ayurveda, or even a quack. Desperation. You can even go to a quack. I was saying when we were going for Ramas's wife death, that the boy who came with me, he was telling me, last enna sir pannanga? I've been trying for last enna pannanga? So and so place length, they got that medicine, so thinking that it will be alright. He said, Adan sir best medicine from whatever place. Why? Because angin the medicine vaangikutta, 8th day the patient dies the 8th day. So that is the best medicine. I asked him, how do you know, Pan? Sir, already 3 perku vaangikutta. Already 3 perku vaangikutta. His mother, his sambandhi, somebody else. 3 பேருக்கு வாங்கி கொடுத்தேன் சார், அத்தோட விட்டேன். அங்கே வாங்கியிருந்தான்னு சொல்லியிருந்தா பெஸ்ட்டு சார் அதான். You follow? All efforts are done, no guilt whatsoever. It becomes, you are able to reconcile to it. You follow? You are able to reconcile that you are helpless. What does reconciliation means? What does reconciliation means? You are the human ego is helpless. You cannot understand that. That is why when the fact of reconciliation happens, you are irritated about it. You don't grow. you feel wasted efforts. Ella vyartham you say. Vedanta comes and says, from the beginning, one part of you should understand that it is helpless. With that understanding that it is helpless, try whatever you can. Which is very difficult to start from the beginning. Therefore, start from the other way. What is the other way? Assume as though everything is under your control and you can change. Assume as though everything is under your control, modify, change, you do actions with that assumption.
Oh, in this case that I treat the sickness.
Yes, treat the sickness as though you can you can do something about it, change, blah 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 blah, whatever you do. A stage comes where it becomes, a stage comes where you understand that nothing can be done. You follow? That stage is very painful. That stage is very painful. That stage is very, you don't want to be in that. You don't want to be in that stage. You follow? Whether you want it or not, whether you accept it or not, the reality of life is human being is helpless. That's all. Human being is helpless. Helpless in what? Helpless in
Everything.
yes, helpless. That's why he says there is a divinity that shapes our ends. There is a divinity. Surrender comes only when helplessness is experienced. A person who has not experienced helplessness can never surrender. அது வரைக்கும் அதெல்லாம் சும்மா pseudo duplicate. Because he still believes he can do something. No. Like in the Bharatam, like in the Mahabharata story, Draupadi asked, why did you take so late to come, Krishna? Why did you take so late to come? Krishna said, I didn't take late. I wasn't late. I was there all through. But you didn't allow me. Draupadi said, what do you mean you didn't allow me? Mouth is shouting Krishna. Your hands are still holding on to the sari. When did I come? That moment where you understood that you can't hold it anymore and you let loose, I came. And then he asked, were you exposed at any point of time? She wasn't exposed. You follow? But then the ego cannot believe that. The ego will not accept that. So what it does, it believes that it has to do everything. You follow?
What ego cannot believe?
It is helpless. Ego cannot understand that it is helpless. Ego will not accept it. Ego always believes that it is the doer. What does I am the doer means? What is that bhava of I am the doer? What does it mean? I can do something. Helplessness says, you can't. You can do. But life tells you that your ego is helpless. Tsunami comes, you are helpless. What can you do? A disease comes, you are helpless. 15 stray dogs chase and maul a person to death. He is helpless. It happens, no? You follow? Think about it. Two ways of living life. One is an attitude of reconciliation. What is attitude of reconciliation means? I am helpless. Another attitude is
I can do something about it.
I can do something about it. Between the under what circumstances I can take stance, the question that she asked is under what circumstances I can take stance 1, under what circumstances I can take stance 2, for which I said don't mix it up like that. In all situations try the action first. Don't try the reconciliation at all. One day you are supposed to get there. One day you are supposed to get to that point. That's all. But you don't practice it. For practice, what you should do, the question is, for practice, what should one do? For practice, do action. You follow?
I'm thinking I'm mixing, but still I want to understand. So because in the Sudha, you have to reconcile, because that bhavam behind reconciliation is helplessness.
Yes.
So
Yes.
That's straight away varla.
It will not come. How can it come?
So first other than the obligatory duty in Vardo.
Don't mix up obligatory duty. Don't mix up other concepts with this. When you feel that you can do something,
Go for it.
do it. Don't try the method of reconciliation. It can be obligation, it can be non-obligation, it can be desired an action, it can be selfish action, doesn't matter. We are not discussing that. Wherever you feel you can do something, simply do. Don't try this method of reconciliation. Don't try to practice that. Why? Because you will obviously misunderstand only. You will misunderstand and you will do it wrongly only. I said it already. You didn't hear. I said it already. You will become a lazy person. You will become a fatalist. You will not do anything. Child is sick. I will not even make an attempt to take her to the doctor because I am a helpless person. What is the point in taking her to the doctor? So what do? She is sick and I keep looking at her when she is sick. What do I do there? That's what I am asking. What do you do?
Act.
What will you do?
I will act.
That's all. Do that. That's all I am saying. Where is the problem? You are having a confusion because you are thinking, what will the wise man do? What will an ideal man do? Don't worry about all that. I am asking, what should you do? What should you do? It's not that you don't know what to do. You are thinking, what will the ideal man do? What will the best man do? What will the Siddha Prajna do? Siddha Prajna will not do. What is the Siddha Prajna will do? Siddha Prajna will not do anything. Oh, abdiya, okay. So now he will go to the next. He will go and take up the next. Wow. Now you can't do that. None of us can do that. Why? Why none of us can do that? The guilt comes. The attachment comes. The guilt comes. Therefore, what you have to do? Action first. Reconciliation next. Action first. Simply. Yes. You have to go through that. You have to do the action, get beaten up. Helplessness ought to be experienced. You cannot sit and practice it. Whether we are able to practice it or not, that is a wonderful. I was only explaining what is that state. Whenever we explain a state, don't get greedy to immediately
be there.
Don't get greedy to immediately get there. When you see, when we talk about the glory of the greatness, don't get greedy to get there immediately. You can't. Her problem is not that she doesn't know what to do. Her problem is what is the ideal way of doing. For which the ideal way of doing is at your level go through the action first. Why you have to go through the action first? If you don't act, chances are you will get lazy only. Number one. Tamas only you will get into. Number two, after a while, guilt sets in. Oh, I should have done. See, when the man is alive, attention is not paid to him. People turn indifferent. He is dead and gone now. Guilt starts coming in. Oh, what to do now? When that man is alive, a compassionate word cannot be said. A compassionate word cannot be said. A compassionate act cannot be done. You follow? He is dead and gone. And then what happens? Guilt comes. What is the guilt? Oh, I should have done something. What to do now? What all he likes? Naivedyam pannanuma. What all when that man is alive, he is asking one. Over Pava Manogar. Cup of coffee. All that he is asking is 1 cup of coffee. When he is in the photograph, cups of coffee in the front of his photograph. Poor man, he won't even know that it is there in the front. You follow? Guilt comes in. Why? Because you are not able to you don't have the right knowledge. You don't have the right understanding. That is why. You follow? As in the process of gaining it, what do you do? சும்மா சொன்ன ஜோக்கு சொன்னேன். உங்க போட்டோலாம் வராது, இன்னும் நிறைய நாள் இருக்கு இல்லையா?
So my understanding of this related to the question I raised. So I want some work to be done. Somebody is asking for bribe. So I want to try whether I can do it without giving. So at one stage, still I feel it has to be given. So at that time I reconcile, give it, and go without guilty.
Correct. Correct. That's all.
It is like trying for the health.
Everything, correct.
No more they can survive.
Correct.
So get that medicine and give. Go without guilt. Reconcile and go without guilt. Honestly.
Yes, correct. Because you are able to reconcile because one is the ego has the satisfaction that I tried everything. The ego is able to get that satisfaction that I tried everything. In spite of it, I couldn't. Reconciliation happens. Which is how most
actions are being done.
Which is how most live.
No, but without the clarity,
yes,
still people will keep on.
Because they don't have that. That is where Vedanta comes and says, from the beginning you are. Understand, from the beginning you are helpless. You only try. That is why to strive, to struggle. That is why it is always about trying. It's never about succeeding. For you can only try. Why you can only try? Because from the beginning it is always, from the beginning, that which is hidden in life is, the manifest part of life is the effort. The hidden part of life is the helplessness. Again I repeat. The manifest part is effort. The hidden part is helplessness. And both coexist. Both coexist. And you need to complete understanding of life means a complete understanding of both. At this point of time, directly you cannot go to the unseen. Directly you cannot go to that which is. Directly you cannot see that which is the hidden. So what you do? Exhaust that which is
manifest.
Exhaust that which is manifest. What is exhausting that which is manifest means? Put in your
Effort.
That's all. Distinct and different from that is that wonderful state. What is that state? Where the ego understands its helplessness and does and acts.
Act how?
It becomes obligatory duty.
Acts as in whatever ought to be done. Acts. Understanding the
Attending to
helplessness.
the sick and
Yes,
it still attends to
it
sick.
still attends.
அந்த அட்டெண்டிங்க்கு இந்த அட்டெண்டிங்க்கு என்ன டிஃபரன்ஸ்? இங்க நம்மளும் தான அட்டெண்ட் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கோம்.
Here the difference is you believe that you are in the first case you believe that you are the doer. When you understand when you realize that you are helpless and do, what do you understand? When you realize that you are helpless, what do you understand?
Somebody else will come to my.
When you understand that you are helpless, when you realize that you are helpless, what is happening there?
When my actions stop or no?
Nature come to
இல்ல ஹெல்ப்லெஸ்னஸ்ல ஆக்ஷன் நின்னுடுமான்னு கேக்குறேன்.
Answer my question. I am asking a question. Don't ask another question.
No,
Don't think parallelly. I am asking a question. Follow my thinking.
இல்ல இதுதான் பதில் நான் சொல்லுவேன்.
The question is, when you understand that you are helpless and act, what happens?
Without disturbance, you act.
Correct. Without disturbance, you act. Disturbance as in what? Correct. Without result orientation, you will act. Avladhan. It's very simple. Nature coming to support, divinity, shapes are in Salam, poetry. These are all poetry. The reality is you will not be affected by the fruit. The result orientation will not be there. For affectation is related to what? Fruit. Where is the difficulty? Affectation is always in relation to the fruit only. No. You follow? The affectation is always connected to the fruit only. Therefore, where there is no fruit, where you are not affected by the fruit, as in success or failure, you do. What will be the quality of the doing?
Will be the best.
It will be the best. You follow? The question that you are asking is, what will be the quality of the doing when it is done with the right knowledge and understanding?
It is helplessness attitude.
That thing is at reconcile. I thought that when something is reconciled, you will not act at all. I thought.
That's why I said you have that wrong understanding. From the beginning I am saying that. From the beginning I am saying it is not advised to practice because it will be misunderstood like this. That's what I am saying. The very first statement I gave an answer is that.
But if rightly understood, there is a noblest way. Greatest way.
If rightly understood, actions will not stop. Why action will not stop? Why action will not stop?
You understand your helplessness status.
Why action will not stop? Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishtatya karma krit. Insignia of life is action. As long as you are alive, you have to be in action. That drives your action irrespective of the result. You will not become inactive as in not doing anything. The quality of action will be different. Why the quality of the action will be different is because the doer is different. Doer is qualitatively better, therefore the quality of the action also becomes better. People come and ask, I want to do it better. How you can do an action better? You ask, no, how to do an action better? How to do it better? How can you do any action better? Unaffected by the fruits, we say. When can you be unaffected by the fruit? As long as you believe that you can bring the fruit. As long as you believe that you are the cause of the fruit. As long as you believe that you can bring the fruit. How can you not be affected? You will be affected. What is the other way? I am not the doer. I am not the doer. Then who's the doer? That you don't worry. Understand that you are not the. But the ego, this is where the arrogance comes. It has to necessarily fix a doer. Either me or God. But definitely there has to be a doer. The non-doership in Hriday becomes very difficult to conceive. That is why we say nature is the doer.
Yes, sir.
Nature is the doer.
And also the ego, sir.
Yes, because you have to bring in a doer, no. Whoever the doer is, doesn't matter you.
God also is a
Yeah. So that's why I say God is the doer, nature is the doer, divinity shapes, all that means you bring in necessarily some doer. What is the right way of understanding? I am not the doer. But then when you say I am not the doer, action will come to a full stop now. At your level now, if you practice I am not the doer, you will not do anything. Why? At your level, if you say I am not the doer, you will not get up and do anything. Why? Because the ego's motivation comes from doership only. The ego's drive, the ego's energy is from the doership. How can it reconcile to helplessness? Therefore, if you do not understand it rightly, you will end up not doing anything at all. That is why I said, what should one do?
Keep on doing.
Keep on doing. As though you can do something. And then you will realize what? It cannot be. One day you will realize that. That point we will see later.
We'll end up.
Hopefully we will end in that state. You follow? Huh?
Actually, I know.
Think about it. You are not willing to cooperate in what I am explaining. You are stuck with your way of thinking. That's why you are getting confused. Follow what I am giving as a reason.
See, where to... See, reconciliation means I am helpless.
Yes.
Is that called reconciliation?
That's what I explained now. Don't ask again. It is already said. Helplessness is reconciliation.
So I can do something about it is you have not understood that you are helpless.
Yes.
It is that state.
It is egoistic state.
A person in reconciliation state does action.
Yes.
And a person who has not understood that he is helpless also does action.
He doesn't do action. He is imagining that he is acting. He is only agitated. A non-doer, an egoistic person believing that he is acting. He is only agitated. He is not doing anything. He is hallucinating that he is doing. Only the non-doer does the action. Sun gives vitality. No doer. Rose gives fragrance. No doer. Human being doesn't do anything. Human being is only agitated. You follow? So you can never say that you are the doer. But that is the state that we are talking about reaching. How to get there is the question. For which the answer is you have to do action. Ideally speaking, you don't have to do anything. The whole thing is Maya. The whole thing is not there. What are you doing? To what? To whom? Can you sit with it for 2 minutes? A person gets up and gives a slap. Can you say? Can you say Maya? Somebody abuses you. Can you say Maya? Phone call comes. Swati met with a fatal accident. She is lying dead on the street. Maya, can I say that? Therefore, what should one do? Get up and Avladhan. Where is the difficulty? To come to that point is very difficult, but one day we have to come to that stage. One day we have to come to that stage. As of now, what does one do? Act as though it is under your control, and then come to the point that you cannot. Then reconcile. Reconciliation happens by itself. You cannot reconcile and sit. Reconciliation happens by itself. Lot of manana, lot of reflection if you do, reconciliation happens.
Like in the case of fatalist, you said, what kind of reconciliation is that?
Fatalist is not reconciling, he is just lazy. I am saying again, he is just lazy.
Fatalist is a
lazy person. Who's a fatalist? Ella within ukandirukran. He is not doing anything. What would you call that person? What would you call that person? I would say he is an enlightened man if he says, I am destined to be hungry now. Food vanda saapidren. Food varalana na appadiye irukkurenna. He is hungry. Food vanda I will eat. If food doesn't come, I will not eat. Now that man is enlightened. Correct. He is enlightened. He is. You follow? But then, when it is hungry, my thought starts. சாப்பாடு கிடைக்குமா? அதுலயே எந்த சாப்பாடு கிடைச்சாலும் முடியாது இல்லையா? பண்ணெல்லாம் டின்னருக்கு போட்டாங்கன்னா பண்ணையும் சூப்பையும் டின்னருக்கு குத்தாங்கன்னா அது முடியாது. அட்லீஸ்ட் ஒரு ஊறுகாவாவது கொடுங்கப்பா. அட்லீஸ்ட் ஒரு ஊறுகாவாவது கொடுத்தீங்கன்னா அதோட வச்சு சாப்பிட்டுக்கலாம். Went and said, at least give some pickle. No, Harini said, no, adallam lunch only we will give something. You follow? Hungry, but food in the way that
I want.
Food in the way that I prefer, I like, I want. Idhula, where is the reconciliation? What reconciliation that anybody can do? You follow? So, since he is caught up in that, he has no choice but to act. What will he understand out of that action? He will act. But if knowledge is not supporting that action, what will he understand out of that action? Nothing. Again and again he will go through that same vicious cycle. If right knowledge comes in, what does he do? This is what I can do, I do, irrespective of what
comes out of it.
Irrespective of what comes out of, whatever be the result, he is unaffected by it. Avladhan.
Okay, reconciliation na that helplessness that he has understood.
Yes, helplessness is understood as a fact of life.
அதாவது அவன் எதிர்பார்த்த மாதிரில ரிசல்ட் வராது. அந்த helplessness அவன் understand பண்ணிட்டான்.
Yes, that is one facet of helplessness. That is not the definition of helplessness. That is only one part of it. Result will not come in the way that I expect. That is only one part. Another part is it comes. When it comes, when it comes, he is not excited. When it doesn't come, he is not affected. Either way, he is unaffected. So that is why helpless cannot be defined in any. Helpless cannot be defined as in the result of an action. Helpless is a state of understanding about life.
So your answer is discussing about two different states.
Yes.
It's state.
Yes, that's what I am saying from the beginning. It is a state. It is a state.
Madam, நான் இந்த கிளாஸுக்கு இன்னைக்கு ஒரு பெரிய டிஸ்டர்பன்ஸோட வந்தேன். எனக்கு வீட்டில் ஒரு கனெக்ஷன் வாங்கணும். அவன் லஞ்சம் கேட்டான். ஸோ நான் நினைச்சேன், சரி நான் பார்த்துடுறேன், என்னதான் முடியும் நான் பார்த்துடுறேன் அப்படிங்கிறது ஒரு ஸ்டேஜ், என்னோட ஈகோ ஸ்டேஜ். என்னால என்ன பண்ண முடியும், எல்லாரும் லஞ்சம் கொடுத்துட்டாங்க. இப்போ சார்லாம் கூட முன்னாடி கொடுத்துட்டாரு, மனோவர் சார்லாம். சரி நம்மளும் கொடுத்துருவோம் அப்படிங்கிறது ஒரு ஹெல்ப்லெஸ் ஸ்டேஜ். அது ஒரு ஹெல்ப்லெஸ் ஸ்டேஜ்னு வச்சுக்கோங்களேன். இப்போ வாட் ஐ எம் அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்டிங் சார் எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்ணிட்டு, see, I will work to get the work done without லஞ்சம். In case முடியல அப்படின்னா I will reconcile, pay it and get the job done so that I will not have the guilt also later. So the மூணுமே I did the job, happens, I am very happy. Not happening, அங்க வந்து நான் ரியலைஸ் பண்ணிக்கிறேன். அப்புறம் பிறகு வந்து நான் புலம்ப மாட்டேன், ஐயோ நான் லஞ்சம் கொடுத்துட்டேனே அப்படி இப்படி. இப்ப ப்ராப்ளம் என்னன்னா, எல்லாரும் லஞ்சத்தை கொடுத்துட்டு புலம்புறாங்க. இப்ப நான் என்னோட ஒர்க்ல ஒண்ணு லஞ்சம் கொடுக்க மாட்டேன், அப்படி ரீகன்சைல் ஆனா கூட கொடுத்துட்டு புலம்ப மாட்டேன். தட் வாஸ் மை ப்ராப்ளம் ஆக்சுவலி. கரெக்ட். நான் கார்ல வரும்போது சார் பேசிட்டு வந்தேன்.
ரிகன்சிலேஷன்னா புலம்பல் இருக்காதுன்னு சொல்ல வரேனா?
That is one facet of it. Don't try to fix it like that.
இல்ல புரிஞ்சுக்க.
கமாவா போட்டுடுவா.
I'm not giving full stop.
Kama.
I'm trying to understand.
Correct. கமா புலம்பல் இருக்காது. கமா. Yes, correct.
Reconciliation is புலம்பல் இல்லாத ஒரு ஸ்டேட்.
Correct. இருக்காது. கமா. Correct. Yes, perfect.
Correct. There is something more also to be added.
Yes.
So we can endlessly add, but for now I understand.
Correct.
Even that is my problem. I am very clear, happy now.
Correct.
So
புலம்பல் இருக்காது.
எது எப்படி இருக்கோ அது அப்படிதான் இருக்கோ, அதுக்கெல்லாம் நம்ம ஒண்ணும் பண்ண முடியாதுன்னு இதை நம்ம திருப்பி புலம்ப வேண்டாம்ங்கிறது.
கரெக்ட். ட்ரை பண்ண பிறகு
ஆனா நம்ம பண்ணது பண்ணணும்.
எஸ்.
புலம்பாம பண்ணணும்.
Guna guneshu vartante iti matva na sajjate. The wise understands. Gunas goes with gunas. What is there to get affected by it? You are helpless. Gunas will go with. There are various ways of understanding it. Guna guneshu vartante. He said it any number of times. Yes. Different or in the same?
அதுல இன்னும் ஒன்னு டிஃபரெண்ட் இருக்குங்க. அதுல டிஃபரெண்ட் என்னன்னா, where you gave the example of a sick person, அதுல ஒரு ஸ்டேட்மெண்ட் நீங்க சொன்னீங்க, most of the time we try based on affordability, poor way of living னு சொன்னீங்கன்னா, with refers to sickness நீங்க.
No. In the context. Yes, in the context I said, you decide anything based on what? All decisions are made purely on economics, which is a very poor way of living anything. It's not only health. You want to buy something, what decides it? Economics decide. If economics doesn't decide, then what else? And what else should decide? What else should decide?
Need.
First is the field of activity. The field of activity decides. The field of activity that decides. Anything, not the affordability. The obligation decides. The field of activity decides. The sense of obligation decides.
That is ideal.
In an ideal way, these are all the factors should decide. You follow? Not the
poor way.
Yes, it's a poor way. See, all our thinking is restricted by
Finance, economics.
we do not know how to attract wealth. We chase wealth. We don't know how to attract wealth. The person who knows how to attract wealth will not be thinking through economics all the time. A person who's chasing wealth thinks through economics all the time. We don't know how to attract wealth. We chase. We don't know how to attract. Krischate Lakshmischa Patnyau. The Purusha Suktam prayer, I have quoted any number of times. The Vedic mantra of Purusha Suktam, he says, Krischate Lakshmischa Patnyau. Wealth ought to be, you need to attract wealth. When you are able to attract wealth, your thinking will not be conditioned by economics. This is what ought to be done. For this, whatever be the money required, it will come. From where it will come, who it will give, who will come and give, he is not bothered. But you follow? A person who doesn't know how to attract wealth thinks through, his thinking is restricted by money all the time. So poor way of function. Poor way of living. Vivekananda brought about his grand plans of Ramakrishna mission. I forgot the name of that Mudaliyar. I forgot the name of that. Immediately that fellow asked him, your plans and all is very inspiring, so great. But panam la inge kadaikum. Panam vendama adukla. From where will? He turned back and said, that's not my problem. That's not my problem. It has to happen. Now, if he had thought through economics, if he had thought through economics, he would have no noble work can be undertaken if economics becomes the central point of thinking. You follow? Vivekananda said, wealth has to come. Till this date, wealth is coming. Till this date, wealth is coming. Why do they have to bother about economics? Opposite of that is, I have to worry about economics. Why? Because I do not know, I am not living life in such a way that wealth is I am attracting wealth. Instead of wealth seeking me, I am seeking wealth. Krischate Lakshmischa Patnyau. In the Purusha Suktam he says, let wealth seek you. You don't seek wealth. How does wealth seek you? You have to become attractive. When will you become attractive that wealth will seek you? When will you become attractive that wealth will seek you? You turn unselfish. Have you ever noticed wealth comes to those who are unselfish by nature first? And then they may lose it and they will start doing something and they lose it. That's a different story altogether. Wealth always comes to one who is unselfish. People believe wealth comes because of hard work. I worked hard. I toiled 24 hours. Therefore wealth came. Wealth doesn't come because of hard work. Wealth comes only because of your attitude. Because of your unselfishness. Krischate Lakshmischa Patnyau. You follow? It comes. How does it come? When you are unselfish. Take any great businessmen who have amassed wealth. In all of them you find one thing in common. Something genuine in wanting to help the other. Not to make profit. See, read history. We all working for We start only with how much profit we can make. You follow? We start with how much profit we can make. So wealth is not. எவ்வளோ லக்ஷ்மி பூஜா பண்ணாலும் wealth doesn't come. Opposite of that is unselfish. You follow? I have given the story of Kanakadara also. I have given the story of Kanakadara. He sang that hymn and it rained gold. பிறந்ததுலேருந்து எங்கள் வீட்லேயும் போட்டுன்னு தான் இருக்கிறாங்க கனகதாரா. டிஃப்ரெண்ட் சிங்கர்ஸ் எல்லாம் பாட்டு கேட்குறாங்க. நத்திங் காப்பர் காயின் கூட விட மாட்டேன்றது. Why? Look at that man, how he was living. See, what is his capacity? Adi Shankara, see, with one hymn he can bring rain of gold. Now what is that man's capacity and how is he living? He is living on Bhiksha, Bhavati Bhiksham Dehi. That lady came, gave that amla, half rotten amla. She's feeling so bad that she couldn't do anything. That pain of not
able to give.
That pain of not able to give. The pain of not able to give. Shankaracharya identified with that pain. Immediately he sang Kanakadara. Fantastic hymn. Beautiful hymn. You follow? He has never used that power for
Himself.
He has never used it for himself. Even though he had that much power, how is he living life? You follow? Unselfishness attracts. It is unselfishness that attracts wealth. So that fellow need not worry about. He only has to work for a higher cause, and wealth comes in. You follow? Opposite of that is what?
Budgetary provisions.
Ellam budget economics. It's like all the time worried about. All the time from where it will come, from where it will come. Such a weird question. From where it will come? It comes. Not a split second you will be left behind. It comes. You should attract wealth. How you attract wealth? By being unselfish. When the first Tata bought an aircraft, why he bought that aircraft? After independence, it became Air India. Look at that cycle. They are thinking of. They are thinking of buying it back. It goes one full circle. Why he bought that aircraft? The attitude behind Tata, not for him to fly, not for him to have a private aircraft, not for his family to have a private aircraft. He said, an Indian must own an aircraft. To that extent, he identified with the country. Are you able to follow? He identified with that country to that extent. Not an aircraft for me and my family to fly. Second generation, third generation, when the drop in selfishness happens, when the drop in unselfishness happens, what you see happening in them? Wealth also depletes. Wealth also goes away. You follow? There is a genuine unselfishness, always. A fellow who does business for profit, another man says, same business, but it's a livelihood for 100 families. It's a livelihood for 1,000 families. The whole attitude is unselfish. You follow? A person who's functioning like this need not worry about from where it will come, from where it will come, from where it will come. It will come. If it is not coming means
You see, the attitude is wrong.
out of it. It's very simple. If it is not coming means I have the right attitude, sir, but earlier, no, it will never happen. You have the right attitude, it comes. You may choose to say no. You may choose not to take, but availability is there. Since availability is there, his thinking is never restricted by. His thinking is never restricted by.
By the economics of it.
Yeah. By the economics of it. You follow? That's what I said. If not, a person who doesn't live an unselfish life, his thinking all the time will be circling about what? What will he think? For each and everything, what will he think?
What do you get?
Where
Money.
from you will get money?
From where will I get? Or, if I spend it now, how will I earn it?
Back.
Earn it back, earn it again. The whole lifetime worrying about only
Himself.
earning money for what? Himself. The same person, when the attitude changes towards something unselfish, to that level of unselfishness it comes. You follow? Family very unselfish ana, to that circle it comes. Country very unselfish ana, to that extent it comes. Here we are not talking about the ultimate liberation law. The as much as you can stretch in unselfishness. You follow? A person who is working like that is a courageous person. A person working like this is a courageous person. A courageous person need not worry about economics, money. You follow? Wealth. A selfish person who lives in fear is the one who is always worried about
Yes.
the money. Either for himself or for those he call as his. But nevertheless there is fear. You follow? That's what I said. Most of the time we worry about only economics, and it's a very poor way of living. It's a very poor way of living. The other way is turn as unselfish as possible. Whatever is needed comes. From where it comes, how it comes, that will not be. That is unknown. Ask those who have lived a life like this, they say it comes. When we have not lived a life like that and ask for a proof of correct we don't. Who will come and give? We don't know. From where it will come, we don't know. But it comes. That's Purusha Sukta mantra. Srischate Lakshmischya Patnyau. They are your attendants. Attendants means waiting to serve you. Why do you have to worry about that all the time? You follow? Wealth, you attract wealth by unselfishness. You attract wealth by responsibility. Wealth comes to those who are. Having wealth is a responsibility. Having wealth is not for indulgence. Having wealth is responsibility. Responsibility as in to make
Good use of
to make right use of it, as in serving as much as. It's a responsibility. Having wealth is a tremendous. It's a huge responsibility. Having wealth is not easy. People get it. As soon as they get it, they turn indulgent. Wealth they get, as soon as they get wealth, they turn indulgent. As a result of that, it's lost. Wealth is it's a responsibility. You follow? You need to attract wealth. To be fearless about it, you have to think very responsible. Responsibility means what? How it can be used for a larger cause. That is responsibility. What does responsibility means? ஜாகிரதையை பார்த்து செலவு பண்ணுறதா, பேரம் பேசி கம்மியாக்கிறதா? What does responsibility means?
How it can be made use of better.
How it can be made use for a larger cause, for a larger purpose. Correct? You follow? That person thinking will never be circling around economics, wealth. Rest of them are all the time worried about economics. Means from where it will come. Livelihood, sir. Livelihood. Turn unselfish, your livelihood is taken care of. You don't have to worry about earning a livelihood. One way is you have to work hard to earn a livelihood. Another way is turn unselfish. When you turn unselfish, you are taken care of. Why will he worry? You follow? That person will not worry. Simply turn unselfish. You will be taken care of. That person need not worry about wealth. That person need not worry about his protection. You follow? Wealth is needed for what? You believe in wealth lies your protection, security. That's why, no.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Iron and gold is good for buying. Iron and gold, no, it's okay, give me. It's okay, give me that. No. Give me that, I'm okay with it. Very poor quality of life. Like a joke, Swamiji says, no. Everybody is acquiring wealth. Who are the fellows who enjoys it? The Swamis and the son-in-law. First half son-in-law takes. Second half, some Swamiji will come and take. Na, what is the point in acquiring? You will acquire, but wealth will not touch you. You will not be able to. You will not be able to relish it. You will not be able to enjoy. It will be there. அப்படியே பார்த்துனே இருக்கலாம், அவ்வளவுதான். அதான் எண்ணி கட்டி கட்டி வச்சுக்கலாம், அவ்வளோதான். இட்ஸ் வெரி சேட். யூனோ how many people are like that? They earn, but they don't. It's not that they don't know how to enjoy. Wealth doesn't touch them. இருக்குது, அவ்வளோதான்.
பிச்சை எடுக்கிறவங்க கூட இன்னைக்கு பேப்பர்ல போட்டிருந்தா லட்சக்கணக்கில் ஒரு பாட்டி பணம் வச்சுக்கணும். பிச்சை எடுத்துட்டே இருந்து பணத்தை சேர்க்கணும்,
அவ்வளோதான், சேர்த்துனே இருக்கிறாவோ. How much she? I also read that.
Yeah, 1 lakh plus in bank account. She had some jewels, some 20,000 rupees cash.
No. See, for her, what an hoarding it is. See, for what? No difference. Because both are stuck in beggary, correct? Both are stuck in beggary. No fear, living in fear. You know that you are living in fear when your thinking is revolving around economics all the time. You know that you are living a life of fear, selfishness. Opposite of that is you live an unselfish life. You live fearlessly. Whatever is required comes. எங்கே இருந்து வருது, from where it comes, how it will come, we don't know, but it comes. A selfish person living in fear is all the time worried about acquisition. You follow? How to explain a person is worried about acquisition? I put it in a very gross way by saying all the time thinking will be centering around economics. Otherwise, how to explain? Refined சொன்னாலும் it is getting very. கணேஷ் கேட்டார், சார் கியர் மாற்றிட்டே இப்போ நீங்கள் டீச்சிங் லைக். சார் ஆமாம், ரிஃபைண்டாக சொன்னாலும் புரிய மாட்டேன்றது. ஸோ வி ஹாவ் டு மேக் இட் ஆஸ் கிராஸ். மேக் இட் கிராஸ். அப்போ கூட இட் டசன்ட் கிராஸ். A person living in selfishness, how do you know that he is living a selfish life?
Always in
Fear. How do you know that he is living in fear? How do you understand that? Thinking all the time about money. Earn, save. Earn, protect. Not saving. See, they use the wrong word. Hoarding is the right word. They use the word and they think they are doing the
service.
Saving the word use பண்ணாக்கா saving the word they use it and it becomes, they believe that they are doing the right thing. Actually it is only hoarding. That beggar lady was just hoarding. For what? ஓகே, இன்னைக்கு 500 ரூபா வந்துச்சு, நாளைக்கு யார் கொடுப்பாங்க தெரியாது. ஸோ இன்னைக்கு வந்தது ஜாகிரதையா. நெக்ஸ்ட் டே another, thinking doesn't change, still the same. It acquires, it hoard. Somebody will come and
they will die, somebody will enjoy.
Correct. Always except that person, others enjoy. Why he is not able to enjoy? Because he lives a life of hoarding. So I said it's a very poor way of living, is through thinking through economics. B, how to break this, how not to fall a victim to this, become unselfish. You follow? Adukku I said you need to know how to attract wealth. You need to know how you should attract wealth, not you seek or chase. That's why he says, if you chase her, she runs away. You turn your back unselfishly, she she seeks you. You follow? When she is seeking you, courage comes. You know that she is there. Anytime you can
Make it.
anytime you can make use. If you are chasing her, you know that she is not. You know that she is not there. Now what to do? வரது அப்படியே கெட்டியா பிடிச்சி வச்சுக்கணும். நான் திருப்பி எப்படி வரும் சார்? அப்படியே வந்தது அப்படியே கெட்டியா பிடிச்சி வச்சுக்கணும். You will keep. இப்படி தொட்டு பார்த்துனே இருக்கலாம், அவ்வளோதான். இருக்குதுன்ற சாட்டிஸ்ஃபேக்ஷனில். இன் ரியாலிட்டி there is no joy in it. In reality there is no joy in it. There is no happiness in it. Invariably what they do? The hoard, they hoard, and invariably what they do? Pass it on to the next generation, and that generation sits,
Blows it up.
and that generation starts indulging, blowing it up. What does that?
Spoil the generation.
Because they don't know the value.
The third generation, fourth generation, why they do it? Why they do it?
They didn't put in the efforts.
Why they do it? Availability means indulgence. It's not knowing the value. Get your thinking correct. When things are available, indulge. When it is available, what will you do? It's not they didn't work hard, they don't know the value. இதெல்லாம் சும்மா, இதெல்லாம் மூவி டைலாக்ஸ் தான். அதெல்லாம் the reality is it is available in plenty. When it is available in plenty, what will be the natural consequence? He will not become a self-realized person. They will only indulge. Therefore what they did in this culture, you were never allowed to hoard, nor are you allowed to pass it on. But today is exactly the opposite. The hoarding and passing it on only for them to, how they blow it off? Indulge. What will they do? You should say they are suffocated and bored. You should sympathize with them. Don't say they didn't do hard work, they don't have any value. That it means you have not thought about it. You don't know what you are saying. They have to be sympathized. Why? Because they are bored. They are frustrated. What will they do? They will only indulge. Excitement. To give a simple example, Diwali used to be a huge excitement. For the children today, there is no excitement, because they get it throughout the
Yeah.
when they are getting clothes throughout the year. Where is the excitement? Where is the joy? You follow? Even today Diwali gives joy to somebody else. Look at them. What is the difference?
They get it only.
I get it.
Once a year.
I remember I wasn't that bad. Some of the children, Diwali dress will be the school uniform.
For me, sir.
I remember. So என்னடா புது ட்ரெஸ்னா யூனிஃபார்ம் they will say. Buy the school uniform. Oh, what an excitement a new shirt gives. What an excitement a t-shirt gives. Today, when nothing is exciting, When none of these simpler things of life ceases to give enjoyment, where will the mind go? Where will the mind go? Where will they go? That is where you find all of them getting into drinking and smoking. They will get into drinking and smoking. And then what happens? The third generation, drinking and smoking Allah takes long time to give that excitement. Go to drugs straight away, because that gives
Instant.
You should sympathize with them, because they are doing it out of frustration, they are doing it out of boredom. You follow? Very selfish way of
Living.
opposite of that is an unselfish. You turn unselfish, and when you turn unselfish, you need not worry about anything. You don't have to worry about your livelihood. You don't have to worry about anything. It
Seeks you.
yeah, you become attractive. You attract wealth instead of you chasing it. What I said in that context is, you are so worried about it because you are chasing it all the time. Formula: Hrishchate Lakshmischa Patnyo. Purusha Suktam. Prayer. சரியா? Okay?
No, I didn't ask the question.
What is the question?
So, when a person is sick, அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு what you started was, you said, so if I have more money, there is more trying. Less money, less trying. No money, no trying.
What?
அந்த மாதிரி நீங்க சொன்னீங்க actually. But why it was said, I don't understand.
Say that again.
The two ways of dealing with disturbance left. Either you reconcile or you can do something about it. So for which you gave an example saying, if a person is sick, what do? If you have to really reconcile, அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு what you said, if you have more money, then more trying to cure the sickness.
More?
Trying.
Less
money means less trying, no money means no trying, and you will directly reconcile அப்படின்னு கேட்டேன்.
Yeah, I asked as a question. Yes.
புரியல.
அப்புறம் அதுக்கப்புறம் என்ன சொன்னேன்?
Then that is sannyas very difficult to follow அப்படின்னு சொன்னேன்.
What?
It's a very high state, it's very difficult to follow அப்படின்னு சொன்னேன்.
Something in between is missing. You are missing something in between. I will repeat it again. A person is sick. A fellow on the roadside having 4 children, having no money to treat, what will he do?
I don't think he will take any step for treatment.
A person has X amount of money. He will try
To treat.
more money. He will think in terms of going
Abroad.
So yeah. So it means for effective life, what becomes important? Money becomes important. Therefore, you start chasing money all the time. Idhula, where does Vedanta, Sannyas and all fit in? Are you able to follow? Adha, that's what I'm still explaining. I know what I said. I'm saying the same thing again. So what is reconciliation here? Reconciliation is not that poor man sitting on the roadside. The rich man who can take the child for treatment to any part of the world also can have the same attitude. What is that attitude? What is that attitude? Helplessness. So it has got nothing to do with
The amount of money.
it has got nothing to do with the amount of money that you have. It is to do with the right Knowledge. But people don't understand it like that. How do they understand? How do they understand? How do they understand? More the money?
More the comfort, control.
More the comfort, more the control. Look at all those who have got money. They are as miserable as anybody else. Therefore, sannyas or growth has got nothing to do with the money or no money. It is to do with an understanding. What is that understanding? What is that understanding in this context? Helplessness. Helplessness.
That I am helpless.
Helplessness.
Nevertheless, you look after this.
Yes. I have told any number of times in this classroom. In this classroom, we talk about attitude. We don't talk about action. Action has to be done. Attitude is what we... In this classroom, I have said it any number of times and you all miss it. Again, I am saying it. You always come and ask about action. We always discuss attitude. We don't meet at all. You are asking about action. We are talking about attitude. In this classroom, we talk about only... Now you don't want to understand attitude. You straight away want to jump into action as to what can be done, what to do, what not to do, what one can do or what one should do or what one shouldn't do. That's not what we are discussing. We are only discussing attitude part. Action wise has to be determined by... Action is always determined by the time, the place, the situation, the person. That is why we don't discuss action at all in this classroom. Remember always. Chariya? In this classroom, we talk about only attitude. We don't talk about action at all. And all the questions that everybody asks boil down to action only. You will never ask about... No questions will be asked about attitude. No discussion will be asked about attitude. You will always ask about only action. Assuming that attitude la engalukku theriyum sir. Action patti correct ah solli kudunga porum. If you have understood the attitude, you will know how to act. If you are confused about action means you are not clear about the attitude. So what happens? Go back to attitude. Now talking about or hearing about it again and again and again is very frustrating. That I can realize. That I can understand. It is very frustrating. How long to listen about the attitude? Either do something about action. But the problem, the difficulty is we can never talk about action. Why we can never talk about action? Because if we have to talk about action, we need to know four things. Time, place, situation, person. இந்த நாலும் சொல்லலைன்னா you can never talk about action. Time means what? Time means what?
How fast you need.
Correct. How fast, how much it can be delayed, all that comes in. Second is the place. Third is the situation. The fourth one is the person. Person means what is your obligation to that person. What is the relationship with that person? In the நாலுத்துலயும் clarity இல்லைன்னா you can never talk about action, which we can never discuss because it is variable. It is variable. Number two, you individually has to decide on that. Nobody from outside can say anything on this. You as an individual has to decide. That's your responsibility. Action is your responsibility. Attitude can be explained. What attitude you can have can be explained. But doing it is your responsibility. So when you do it, on what basis you do? Time, place, situation, person. Desha, Kala, Parinama, Purusha. Desha, Kala, Parinama, Purusha. You follow? So, action means determine these four. It will vary from person to person. In the same person, it varies at different stages in life. In the same person, it varies at different stages in life. Therefore, at what stage of life are you in? Adhikda I have said, what are all the, I have given those lists. Action aborthavarikum, what all has to be done and the list is already given. Whenever you talk about action, verify those lists and come and ask. But generally, what do we talk all the time? We only talk about shifting the attitude. Individually, we can talk about action. Okay?
Use it for the meeting.